that just does like the perimeter routing and does the holes for the bridge so that everything lines up properly and it makes sure that it intonates properly and everything fits really, really well. From there, we take it, we do all handwork. All the backs of the necks are shaped by hand. The builders do all their own shaping. Team Built line has a few guys that do all the back shaping. You'll see a lot of machinery if you visit other factories that do CNC cutting, and they'll cut the back shape in. We do it by hand because that's how it's been done, and that's how we like to continue to do it. So I do all the lutes for the period correct for the year, and I spent a lot of time to take great pride in doing that because through the years this part of the neck would change along with the neck shapes, and so it just makes it feel and look like the genuine piece that I'm trying to achieve.
So every guitar that comes out of the custom shop, the neck is hand sanded?
Absolutely.
Every single one. So when you call and you say, I'd like to get a 1965 neck shape, you sand that out?
Absolutely. And then to that, you can choose a different radius, different fret wire, and different pickups, but neck shapes, you can choose whatever you want, and that's what we do. We take what it is that's in your head, and my job is to take the guitar that's in your head that's not available anywhere else, and then make it for you. Tailor fit the guitar to you. So it's a really, really fun, really rewarding career that I have.
All right, well, that's all. I'm joking.
Yeah, it's on.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, bring it up.
Not working?
It's working. It's just low. Yes, my beard.
Your beard. Paul. So, Paul, how long have you been with Fender?
I've been working with Fender for 11 years now.
11 years. So how did you get started in guitar building?
I built my first guitar when I was 14, and my first guitar was a Fender. It was a bass. I'm a bass player, more so than a guitar player. And I ended up taking it apart more than playing it, just to see what makes it tick. And growing up, I was always taking things apart and, making my parents upset. But I always wanted to find out how, why, how does it work. So I just kind of started putting that towards building a career, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do from that age, that I wanted to do this for a living, make guitars. I didn't really care how much money I made or anything, as long as I could just do what I love to do every day and have a roof over my head. That was fine by me. And then I ended up with Fender, and this career path has taken me places I've never dreamed of, working with artists that I grew up listening to, and artists that my parents grew up listening to, and now I get to work with new artists that the next generation is.
Let's talk about some of them. Who are your favorite artists that you've worked with?
I've really, really enjoyed working with the Rolling Stones, because that's like the pinnacle of rock and roll, and they're still around, and they're still doing it.
The Rolling who?
And just not something that I thought I would ever do, but there I was, working with Keith Richards. And I got to meet Keith Richards and shake his hand. And, it was an amazing experience. Also, that double neck that you saw in the pictures, I worked with Troy for about 4 months on that guitar, working with him to pull it out of his head so I could make templates, and it was a completely handmade guitar for him. And
how many of you have seen the video on the Fender website with Troy and Paul? Nobody. You got to go to the Fender website. You have to see this video. Justin and team helped put it together. It's unbelievably awesome. Do that tonight when you get home.
It's great because you can kind of see into the custom shop where we work every day, and some of the tools that we're using. And you'll see they're really old and beat up, and it's because they're 60 years old, a lot of them. So what I brought here today, I wanted to show you, we take great pride in every aspect of the guitar, and one of the things that I like to do is do a really nice wiring job. Even though I know most people will never see it, they're not going to take their guitar apart and look at it, but I want to make sure that it looks really pretty. These are hand-wound Josefina pickups. Every pickup that she winds, she signs and dates them the day she makes them, so that you know they're genuine. And everything that I do has Josefina hand-wounds, unless I make the pickup for it.
And Josefina worked with Abby for, what, 4 years?
She apprenticed with Abby for 4 years before Abby retired. And then Abby came to work one day and said, I think I'm going to retire. And I was working on, this is a cool story. I haven't told anybody this story, this trip yet, so I'll share it with you. Abby wanted to retire, and I was working with the Rolling Stones, working on a Telecaster project with them. And going to the rehearsals in LA, back and forth, I let Pierre know that Abby was going to retire, and her last day was on that Friday, and they were having a show Friday night. So he said, well, why don't we invite Abby down for her last day and give her a night with the Rolling Stones? I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So I finished what I needed to do, went down to see him, and they sent a car to pick up Abby and her family and take her down to the show. And she got to hang out with Keith, the whole band, Keith and Ronnie and Mick, and everybody was there. So she has pictures, and so it was like their way of saying thank you to Abby, because she's like the queen of tone, we used to call her. And she worked right next to me, so she was like my grandma at work. And I have to be careful about not using too many curse words, because grandma's right there.
Now all he does is cuss all day long.
So Josefina worked with Abby, learned as much as she could, everything that she could. She has a book, we call it the Bible. It's about that thick with all the specs of all the different pickups that she's made over the years, because not only do we have specs for all the vintage pickups, we also have specs of the different runs that we've done in a custom shop, so that if we need to dig up the archive to say, hey, what was that guitar? That guitar is amazing. It sounded really good. We can go flip through that book and say, okay, that's the pickup, and it's all written down, the identity of that pickup, so we can remake that pickup. And like I said, there's a really thick book full of information in there. So that was passed down to Josefina, and now Josefina is carrying the torch every day. And she, again, works right next to me, so I have to be careful about what I say. So I'm going to put this guitar together and show you a couple things. One of the beauties of this, of doing it nice and pretty, is you notice that it just drops right in. There's no a bunch of spaghetti sticking out. Sometimes if anybody's taken their guitar apart or worked on some wiring stuff and wanted to change something out, you've got to tuck the wires in and then smash it down, but this just drops right in. It's a beautiful thing. And the other thing that, and this is the reason why we use the CNC machines, because originally in the factory they used to use old steel templates, and they were heavy, and they would put them on the pin router. They would set the body on the steel template and use a pin router. There's a pin on the bottom of the table and a cutter that comes down that follows that pin, and they would make all the cuts. Over time, those steel templates would wear out from getting smashed into the bearing or whatever it was. And so slowly over time the cavity